Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1845BN. Today's date is April 18th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Hidden Info Inside the Mueller Report Will Be Used to Expose the Email Cover-Up. Now, before we get started, let me ask you something. What are you doing when you install computer antivirus software? Or you put a smoke detector in your home, or you sign a marriage prenuptial agreement? You're preparing. You're preparing for the worst. Same goes for building a food storage plan. You're preparing for when natural disasters strike, shelves go empty at your grocery store, or you can't get there because you're cut off from everything. The best way to prepare is with my Patriot Supply. I trust and use them, and you should too. A 2-week food kit gets you started. They're available now for a special price of only $75 when you go to preparewithx22.com. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, as we can see today, the deep state, they are in a panic. There is panic in D.C. Why? The Mueller report came out and boom, not guilty, no evidence, no collusion, no obstruction. There's nothing. And Bill Barr came out and he explained the whole thing. But we see the mainstream media, they are pushing that, Trump was nervous, Trump was afraid, and this was in the report, that, his presidency is done for. And Matt Walsh explains the whole thing, and the mainstream media, they're just making a really big deal out of this. He said the left is making a big deal out of a section of the report that reveals Trump's worried reaction to the special counsel. But in that same paragraph, the part they don't show, Trump explains that he's worried because of the political implications, not any crime he committed, because there was no crime. Now, Barr, he came out, he had a press conference today, and reporters were asking him questions, and they were trying to get him in a certain direction, and they were trying to make it look like that Barr was on the side of the president, he was working for the president, and he's doing everything for the president instead of being independent. And Barr defended his handling of the release of the Mueller report, dismissing criticism that he was acting as if he were President Trump's personal attorney. Now, a CBS correspondent reporter, Paula Reed, confronted him at his press conference by mentioning the criticism that his handling of the report rollout has been very overly defensive of Trump. Take a listen to the exchange.
So I'm not sure what your basis is for saying that I'm being generous to the president.
You face an unprecedented situation. It just seems like there's a lot of effort to go out of your way to acknowledge how this.
Well, is there another precedent for it?
No, but it's unusual.
Okay, so unprecedented is an accurate description, isn't it?
Yes, but
okay.
What do you say to people who are concerned that you were trying to protect the president?
Eric?
There's a lot of public interest in.
And as you can see, Barr completely shut her down. Yes, she wanted to ask other questions, but her original question was completely shut down. And this is what they were trying to do during the press conference. Now, Barr briefed reporters and the public on the full scope of Mueller's investigation report. He said under federal regulation found at 28 CFR at 600.8, a special counsel makes a confidential report to the Attorney General on all the prosecutor's work and conclusions. It's not a public document, and Mueller submits nothing to Congress. Then, under 28 CFR Section 600.9c, the Attorney General has discretion, but it is not required to determine if disclosure of any of that material is the public interest. And if so, the Attorney General is permitted to release parts to the public. Understanding the extraordinary public interest in this matter, Barr decided to release the entire Mueller report, with Barr redacting on the portions required by law. He is also delivering the report to Congress in addition to his own summary. The Attorney General made explicitly clear that Trump never asserted executive privilege, which would have blocked parts of the report from the public disclosure. There are two types of executive privilege. The first is the presidential communications privilege, which pertains to conversations or other communication personally involving the president, either with the White House staff or with other senior administration officials. The second is the deliberative process privilege, a lesser and weaker form of privilege which involves deliberations of anyone in the executive branch discussing sensitive matters. For both forms of privilege, including the second one, which by definition covers communications where the president was not personally involved, only the president can assert privilege. Not only did President Trump never assert executive privilege here, he did not even request an advance copy of the report to consider whether to assert privilege over any part of it. The president decided to be fully transparent on the report without knowing what was in it. And Barr was being right up front, explaining to everyone why there are certain parts redacted, why he decided to give it to Congress, why he decided to do this, and saying that we are not hiding anything. And you can see Barr and Trump, they're being completely transparent, and Q is letting us know that this is the only way we can go forward. The truth being completely transparent. And we need to go back in time a little bit, because if you look back in time, a lot of the things they've been telling us about Carter Page, George Papadopoulos, the raids on Stone and others, well, a lot of this stuff is turning out to be fake, false. I mean, think about it. The allegations against Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, which used to justify the FISA spying campaign against him, they were false. The investigation did not establish that Page coordinated with Russian government in its effort to interfere with the 2016 presidential election. Sean Davis tweeted out, Mueller's report concluded that allegations against Carter Page used to justify FISA's spying campaign against him were false. The investigation did not establish that Page coordinated with the Russian government in an effort to interfere with the 2016 presidential election. We also know that optics are very important. Why was Rod Rosenstein up there? Well, he was controlling Mueller. Why did Mueller and Rod Rosenstein sign off on the entire report? Why did they help redact certain sections? Because they are the ones who were doing the entire investigation when Barr wasn't there. So they kept them all on, never got rid of them, to show that they're all on board with this. Optics are very important. And we know that Rod Rosenstein, he signed off on the report with Barr. Mark Meadows tweeted out the following. This point is critical. Mueller has assisted Bill Barr with the redaction process. To believe there is a cover-up would require also believing that the special counsel, who Democrats treated as the hero for 2 years, is directly involved and complicit. It is nonsense. Don't buy it. So you can see right now, the deep state, they're panicking. They're trying to come up with any excuse they possibly can. They don't like Mueller anymore. They don't like Rosenstein anymore. And they're trying to go off in all different directions. And Trump came out. He was with the Wounded Warriors. And he came out and said the following. Take a listen.
And they're having a good day. I'm having a good day, too. It was called No Collusion, No Obstruction. I'm having a good day. There never was, by the way, and there never will be. And we do have to get to the bottom of these things, I will say. And this should never happen. I say this in front of my friends, Wounded Warriors, and I just call them warriors because we just shook hands and they look great. They look so good, so beautiful. But I say it in front of my friends, this should never happen to another president again. This hoax. This should never happen to another president again. Thank you.
And if you notice, Trump is out there saying that we are never going to let this happen to another president, which means he's going after those people who concocted this entire plan to get Trump. So he responded to the Mueller report saying, time to investigate the liars. Paul Sperry tweeted out the following. Breaking. Mueller report reveals that Trump campaign formally turned down 2 invitations to visit Russia during campaign and refused to provide a copy of Trump's passport for a visa. Paul Sperry also said, Mueller report reveals it could find no documentary or other evidence indicating Papadopoulos shared Mifsud's claim that Russia had dirt on Hillary Clinton in the form of emails with any other Trump campaign official, the alleged predicate for opening an investigation. So everything that they built over the last 2 years is now falling apart with this report. And of course, Trump is out there saying it's hard to believe Obama didn't know what the FBI was up to in 2016. This is just a little dig getting everyone on board that Obama must have known what was going on and he was part of it. And you can see this is the direction they're moving in. Now, something very interesting. On page 23 of the special counsel report into Russia collusion, it revealed that Russian company responsible for attempting to collude with the Trump campaign also supported Bernie Sanders' campaign for president. In the report, it quotes a message seeming to come from the Russian-based internet research company IRA. Main idea, use opportunity to criticize Hillary Clinton and the rest except Sanders and Trump. We support them. So the IRA is the company responsible for the Russian internet trolls that produced and promoted content meant to sway the results of the election, which really wasn't that much. And in their communications, they make it clear that it wasn't just Trump. Now, what's very interesting about this is that they're using it to say that Russia wasn't involved with Hillary at all. It was with Sanders and Trump. Just remember that for a second, because as we go through this report, the entire behind-the-scenes motive of the report is to get Hillary Clinton off the hook and to blame Russia and, at the same time, bring down Trump. Now, look what has happened since the report came out. Since the report came out, we also see that BuzzFeed's story that claimed Mueller had evidence that Trump directed Michael Cohen, his former attorney, to lie to Congress about a potential Moscow real estate deal is fake. The January 18th BuzzFeed story claimed that Cohen told the special counsel that after the election, the president personally instructed him to lie by claiming that negotiations ended months earlier than they actually did in order to obscure Trump's involvement. The story claimed that Mueller's office learned about Trump's directive for Cohen to lie to Congress through interviews with multiple witnesses from the Trump organization and internal company emails, text messages, and a cache of other documents. Cohen then acknowledged those instructions during his interviews with that office. BuzzFeed touted its story as the first known example of Trump explicitly telling a subordinate to lie directly about his own dealings with Russia. And guess what? It turns out to be fake, phony, and false. The special counsel's report concluded that while there is evidence that the president knew Cohen provided false testimony to Congress about the Trump Tower Moscow project, the evidence available to us does not establish that the president directed or aided Cohen's false testimony. So if you notice, everything that they built is falling apart. It's all unraveling right in front of them. Now watch how the prey becomes the hunter. And the hunter is Trump and the Patriots. The prey now is the mainstream media, is the deep state, are the liars. And there's something else that's very interesting in this report. Remember when I said the deep state, these certain players, Clintons and the rest, they were going to use this report to blame everything on Russia, to exonerate Clinton with all the emails and things like that, bring down WikiLeaks, and get rid of Trump. And when you start to read this, you can see how they were trying to push a certain narrative against Russia, WikiLeaks, Seth Rich, and the rest. And I believe Barr allowed these sections to stay in the report on purpose. Let's take a look at page 48. Now, it says on October 7th, 2016, WikiLeaks released the first email stolen from the Podesta email account. In total, WikiLeaks released 33 tranches of stolen emails between October 7, 2016 and November 7, 2016. The release included private speeches given by Clinton, internal communications between Podesta and other high-ranking members of the Clinton campaign, and correspondence related to the Clinton Foundation. In total, WikiLeaks released over 50,000 documents stolen from Podesta's personal email account. The last in-time email released from Podesta's account was dated March 31st, 2016, 2 days after Podesta received a spear phishing email sent by the GRU. As reports attributing the DNC and the DCCC hacks to the Russian government emerged, WikiLeaks and Assange made several public statements apparently designed to obscure the source of the materials that WikiLeaks was releasing. The file transfer evidence described above and other information uncovered during the investigation discredit WikiLeaks' claims about the source of the material that it posted. Beginning in the summer of 2016, Assange and WikiLeaks made a number of statements about Seth Rich, a former DNC staffer who was killed in July 2016. The statements about Rich implied falsely that he had been the source of the stolen DNC emails. On August 9, 2016, the WikiLeaks Twitter account posted, "Announced WikiLeaks has decided to issue a US $20,000 reward for information leading to conviction for the murder of DNC staffer Seth Rich." Likewise, on August 25, 2016, Assange was asked in an interview, "Why are you so interested in Seth Rich's killer?" and responded, "We're very interested in anything that might be a threat to alleged WikiLeaks sources." The interviewer responded to Assange's statement by commenting, "I know you don't want to reveal your source, but it certainly sounds like you suggested a man who leaked information to WikiLeaks was then murdered." Assange replied, "If there's someone who potentially connected to our publications and that person has been murdered in suspicious circumstances, it doesn't necessarily mean that the two are connected, but it is a very serious matter. That type of allegation is very serious, and it's taken very seriously by us." After the U.S. intelligence community publicly announced its assessment that Russia was behind the hacking operations, Assange continued to deny that the Clinton materials released by WikiLeaks had come from Russian hacking. According to media reports, Assange told a U.S. congressman that the DNC hack was an inside job and purported to have physical proof that Russia did not give materials to Assange. So in this report, it's saying that the intelligence community announced that it was Russia that did the hacking, and everything that Assange was saying is completely fake, phony, and false. So the question is, why was this kept in the report? It was done on purpose. Let's just say that if Assange were to suddenly testify and a server with the source files appeared, and Assange states that Seth Rich was the source, what happens to the Mueller's credibility? What happens to the report's credibility? It gets knocked down further, and it implicates Mueller in a cover-up. Let's go back to post-1708. Back then, Q said the following: "What if the UK government worked hand in hand with Hussein admin to sabotage the 2016 election? Data collection, voice video bugging, creation of fake intel dossier using X-Spy, co-sponsoring insurance policy, re. POTUS election, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, No Name, Clapper, Brennan Rice, Loretta Lynch, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Hussein, plus 22 more. What if intel mass penetrations to frame Russia? CrowdStrike, Seth Rich, Julian Assange. Why does the UK government desperately want Julian Assange? Think source files. The more you know." Post 1591. Julian Assange in the news. Think James Comey. Server unlocks Seth Rich. Think about this for a second here. Post 1462. The server brings down the house. I believe they left all of this in here so they can come back to this report. Remember, the deep state is still pushing their agenda. I believe the Patriots want this report to lose all credibility whatsoever. Everything that Mueller did, it will show that the opposite actually happened. Because in this, you can see by their entire narrative, they're saying that Russia is responsible. Assange is a liar. The intelligence organizations already confirmed it was Russia that hacked into the server. into the DNC server, into everything else. And we know from Bill Binney, with the transfer rates, it is completely impossible. It was an inside job. It had to be on some other type of device. And I believe the Patriots are going to use this later to show that these people were covering for Clinton. Now, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, they are demanding that Mueller testify. And that question was already asked to Bill Barr during the press conference. They asked him, do you care if Mueller testifies in front of Congress? Are you going to try to stop him? And Bill Barr says, I don't care. Let him testify. It makes no difference to me. So Mueller can go ahead and testify in front of Congress. This will be perfect. Let him do it. Now, what's very interesting is that in this report, and this is coming out from the Running the Race, it's a tweet, and Annan noticed that a lot of the redacted information, because there's ongoing investigations, it is on page D5. Now that's very interesting. D5, the avalanche. D5, the fourth letter in the alphabet, 45. Think about all this. This is what the tweet says. And Annan points out that ongoing cases that are redacted are on page D5. Annan notable. An avalanche is coming. Let's go back to post 3115. It says panic in D.C. The real panic comes in the form of a last resort. And they gave us plus 21 in brackets, plus 2, plus 4. So what is the last resort? Many believe that this might be a major false flag event that they try to kick off. And we see that there were many little ones that were trying to clog the news cycles, but those were all shut down. Now, Nadler has subpoenaed the full Mueller report without these redactions. He wants the whole thing so he can read the whole thing and what's going on. I'd be very careful what you wish for, because I do believe the redactions are not about the investigation into Trump. I believe they're investigations into another person. But is he going to get this? Most likely not. Take a listen to Nadler back in 98 compared to 2019, how he was following the rule of law because it affected someone else back then, and now he doesn't want to follow the rule of law. Take a listen.
Has a right to the entire report with no redactions whatsoever.
Much of this material is Federal Rule 6E material, that is material that by law, unless contravened by vote of the House, must be kept secret.
We're entitled to see it because Congress represents the nation, and Congress has to take action on any of it. So we're entitled to see all of it.
The entire Judiciary Committee is going to see it to decide what must be kept confidential as protecting privacy of third parties. That means 50 people are going to see it. It's going to leak out. And those privacy rights are going to be violated, and that is ensured by this resolution.
He has said he will redact 4 classifications of information.
Right.
Our position is that he should redact none of it.
It represents statements which may or may not be true by various witnesses, salacious material, all kinds of material.
And as you can see, from 98 to 2019, he's talking about the same thing, but he has 2 different opinions. Remember what Q always says, those people who scream the loudest have the most to lose. It's about money. It's about corruption. It's about all of this. Maxine Waters, Adam Schiff, Nadler, Comey, Brennan, Clapper. Think about it. All these people screaming over and over and over. As the mainstream media and the deep state, they try to regroup and try to regain their narrative, what is waiting in the wings is the DECLASS. This will bring down the House and put a full stop to all those nonsensical investigations, and the birds will sing. Let's review a little bit. Trump's legal team. There was no criminal wrongdoing. There was nothing deleted, nothing bleached, nothing concealed, nothing destroyed. We can't say the same thing about the Clinton investigation. Tom Fitton tweets out the following. Meanwhile, at Judicial Watch remains focused on the real scandal, Clinton's emails. He continued, Judicial Watch President at Tom Fitton discusses Clinton's memos. She signed a memo saying, due to recent targeting of personal email accounts by online adversaries, state employees should avoid conducting official department business from personal accounts, while she used personal accounts. Unbelievable. There are now court documents that the prosecutors asked to present evidence that NXIVM sex cult leaders illegally bundled money for the Hillary Clinton campaign. So former NXIVM employee Frank Parlato told Big League Politics, "I was there. I knew that the contributions were made by more than a dozen NXIVM members to Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign," confirming that the court documents referred to Clinton's campaign. Bronfman's donation to Clinton's are recorded here. And the prosecutors state, campaign contributions evidence, facts at trial. The government intends to introduce witness testimony and documents demonstrating that in 2007, the defendants and their co-conspirators were involved in an illegal scheme to exceed contribution limits to a presidential primary campaign. Witness testimony corroborated by documentary evidence will demonstrate that at least 14 members of the NXIVM community, including at least 5 defendants and co-conspirators, made the maximum campaign donations to a primary campaign with the understanding that they would be reimbursed by Bronfman and Nancy Salzman at the suggestion of political operatives who has since pleaded guilty to an unrelated New York State bribery charge also involving campaign contributions. The contributions were bundled and presented to the candidate at a fundraising event attended by conspirators including Nancy Salzman. And as you can see, the walls are closing in on all these people. Remember, watch the news for Rachel Chandler. We see that North Korea's Kim Jong-un, he is saying, and he wants Pompeo replaced, saying that Pompeo is not a good fit for negotiations. Now, I believe that Pompeo and Bolton, they were put there on purpose to keep the mainstream media busy. Do I think they're benefiting Trump? No, I do not. I think eventually what's going to happen, both of them will be removed. Now, we know that we're moving into the next phase. We know that the Mueller report was released. The mainstream media, they're going to try to explain this away. They're going to try to spin this any way they possibly can. And they're still going to try to blame Trump any way they possibly can. We know the deep state and the others, they are panicking because all the evidence is going to be coming out. All the facts are going to be coming out. The truth is going to be coming out. And they're very nervous about this. Let's go back to post 2856. What happened to the Mueller hype? What happened to the Mueller will take down POTUS threats at John Brennan? Was Mueller the insurance policy, also known blockade, designed to limit, restrict POTUS' ability to enforce the law? Traders, if you know your opponent's move, what advantages that does present? If you have the truth on your side, what advantages does that present? If you have full control of the U.S. military, what advantages does that present? If you have complete authority to DECLASS, what advantages does that present? If you have the support of the American people, patriots, what advantages does that present? Do not trust the fake news media. You are the majority. Mueller, we just had that. Then comes the DECLASS. Then comes the OIG report. Truth, then justice. The Great Awakening. You are the news now. Now, in the previous post, we talked about the last resort. And Q has been telling us that everything has been prepared for, that the White House has their own video streaming system. They have the emergency broadcast system. Q has been telling us that social media might go down. And I find this next story very interesting because the time frame is amazing. Now, this is coming out of the Express. A solar storm is expected to close out the Easter weekend with a bombardment of solar particles set to hit our planet on Easter Monday. Researchers have noticed a small hole on the outer layer of the sun's atmosphere, known as a sunspot, which is turning towards Earth. Sunspots are patches of darkness on the sun which are caused by underlying magnetism beneath the surface. However, sometimes that magnetism bubbles up and it is released in the form of solar flares, which spew cosmic particles into space. Holes like this are common, and researchers say we are now in the midst of the outpouring of solar particles, which will continue to collide with Earth on Easter Monday, April 22nd. The clash of our planet and the winds is likely to cause stunning northern lights. Now, this part is very interesting. This can affect satellites in orbit, potentially leading to a lack of GPS navigation, mobile phone signal, and satellite TV such as Sky. So what they're saying, it might have an effect on satellites, phones, the internet, and other things. And the date is around this weekend. Now we know Q gave us a watch with the date of the 19th. Was this used to have the deep state use ammunition this weekend? Maybe. But Q decided to come back and post 2 more posts. This is post 3313, and it's a picture, and it looks like the ocean with a beach with piers sticking out from the land. Give us a Twitter link to Sarah Carter. The Twitter link says, latest, Mueller report ends witch hunt, but what's about to unfold is the real story. Sarah A. Carter. What will unfold is investigation historians will consider one of the greatest political witch hunts in U.S. history. The file name for this picture is LBP, which we'll get to in a minute, but Q says 1st and 10 on the 40, heading towards the end zone. Now, since the pic has this picture of LBP, this could stand for Long Beach Port. Congressman Adam Schiff, his district includes the port of Long Beach. Could be a connection here, and maybe Q is telling us that Adam Schiff is next. Post 3314. Q says Mueller blockade end. Fake investigations by committee members will not delay what is about to be unleashed. What's next? It is the DECLASS. Maybe that is coming on the 19th. Maybe the deep state is going to use their ammunition this weekend. Or Q has once again giving us this information so the deep state uses ammunition. We'll see how this all plays out. But we do know the DECLASS is coming very soon. And this will bring down the House. WikiLeaks, the DNC server, the source files will bring down the House. It will stop all investigations. Those individuals that were on the hunt, they are the prey right now. The storm is here, and it is right above all these people. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.